back. Beathard really thinks the Rams have had the best day of any team in the draft. And just going back a couple more picks here, the Atlanta Falcons. No surprise they took a defensive tackle in Shannon Brown. They tried earlier in the day to convince the Raiders to trade Chester McLaughlin. In fact, Ken Hayrock, the Falcons personnel director, was trying to trade for a first-round pick, offering Bertie Manuel, the wide receiver, just to see if he can get a pick to shop to the Raiders. He even offered next year's #1 pick for Chester McLaughlin, but his old boss, Al Davis, said no. He was hanging on to Chester for right now. Now let's go back to New York with Chris Berman.
All right, Mort, thank you. Let's get us up to date here in the third round. After the Eagles took Bobby Hoying, the 86 pick, which is New England's, originally Detroit's, they picked a defensive tackle from Arizona by the name of Teddy Bruschi. I think we'll be having a few in about an hour. Buffalo picked the defensive back that you've been raving about all day, Mel, from Appalachian State. He's the one that's coming back from the ACL, Matt Stevens, and we applaud this pick because even if it doesn't be a big contributor this year, they have what would have been a first-round pick, maybe, had he not been hurt. And Carolina has just selected defensive tackle from Virginia Tech, J.C. Price. San Francisco, then Green Bay is up. We're going to return here to our draft headquarters. Terrell Owens, wide receiver, just went to San Francisco, and now Green Bay Packers are up. And I'm going to just float a name out here to see if I'm right. Just a flyer here.
Just trolling?
No, just trolling. Jaheen Arnold, a wide receiver. Of course, they did do Mays the last time, so...
Well, Jaheen Arnold's a good football player, Chris. I talked to Keyshawn Johnson about a month and a half ago after the Combine was over, and I said, you know, we always ask players if anybody had caught your eye, and he said, hey, in his wide receiver drills, he really liked Arnold. He thought he was very athletic, very smooth, and very fluid.
All right, well, are we going to do the Buffalo? Here's the Packers. I tried it, you know, but they got the receiver the last time. The Packers have picked a center, Mike Flanagan, from UCLA. Let's go back to the Buffalo Bills, who in the 90s, they now have added Matt Stevens to their premium. Wow, here are their draft picks in the defensive backfield in the 90s. Henry Jones, and that was the first one of the Bill Polian, John Butler. Well, this is Polian's pick, and Butler, who was head of the scouting then, picked a guy that most people thought was mid-second, picked him late first. He's become a Pro Bowler, Henry Jones. They got Kurt Schultz, 92, the 7th-round pick. He's been a good player. Thomas Smith, first-round pick, has started at corner. Jeff Burris, first-round pick, of course, got hurt last year. Marlon Kerner in 3 and Ken Urban in 4 last year because of injuries. Came in and played pretty well. And now Matt Stevens, Mel, for those just tuning in, here's a guy that you really like, and I think you applaud Buffalo with this pick.
Well, no question, Chris. When you get that kind of value for a team, like you said, Chris, doesn't have to force him into the lineup this year. They can invest a year to develop his skills. Know he has the ability to play corner. If he lost some quickness, lost some recovery speed, move him inside the safety. He was a great player at Appalachian State. A lot of games, they never even attacked his side of the field. He has outstanding hands for the interception. Very quick, very athletic player. I tell you, he can get off the ground, instinctive to play the ball. I really like this kid. I think this is top 20 to 25 value in the first round that you're getting in, you know, round 3.
Well, the other thing, too, is you have to understand, again, a defensive back in the AFC East just makes so much sense. I mean, and Buffalo is getting ready for whatever, New England, the Jets, Miami, whatever they want to throw at him. They want to go 3 wides, fine. We've got people to put on the football field, not only that can support the run, because he's a good run supporter, we got people that can cover people as well. So, I mean, Buffalo just continues to get a little bit better on defense with a little bit of youth.
Seattle, Pittsburgh, Dallas, Green Bay, Dallas, and Dallas coming up, and that'll end the 3rd round. Let's go to Chris Fowler and Mike Lombardi. The teams now that we've all been at it for 9.
Try to get on the defense, primarily on the defensive line inside, trying to bulk up the inside run defense of the New York Jets. Now let's go to Gary Danielson.
In Arizona, how about a Tobin who's pulling for Mel Kiper? Vince Tobin, Simeon Rice, Leland McElroy, and John McWilliams, all projected as first-rounders by Mel Kiper, all taken 1st, 2nd, and 3rd round by Arizona. They're praying Kiper is right here in Arizona. Now to Sal Palantonio.
The Ravens had the first big surprise in the 1st round. They took a pass on Lawrence Phillips and instead took Jonathan Ogden, then went for the linebacker Ray Lewis, and then Deron Jenkins, the cornerback. Next up, they've got 5 picks remaining. They'd like to get a cornerback, another linebacker, maybe a quarterback too. Let's go to Hank Goldberg.
In St. Louis, you spell offense starting with Lawrence Phillips. You go to wide receiver Eddie Kennison. You go to quarterback Tony Banks. You take another running back, Gerald Moore. You take an H-back named Cromwell. Where's the D, you say? Well, they got that in free agency. But tomorrow they'll focus on inside pass rushers, some nickel corners, and nickel linebackers who can help them on special teams, and maybe an offensive lineman. Let's go to Tommy Jackson.
Here in Carolina, the most successful expansion team in the history of football moved further towards success. Got Timmy Biaka-Batuka in the first round, and then got an oversized wide receiver, Muhsin Muhammad, who will benefit them from special teams area right away. They come back with Winslow Oliver, a situational back who will also be an impact player in special teams right away. And then finally they round things off with J.C. Price, a defensive tackle, so that they help their aging defensive line. Let's go to Andrea Kramer in Tampa.
The Buccaneers feel they got 4 potential starters today with the emphasis on defense. Reagan Upshaw, Marcus Jones, and Donnie Abraham. And then, of course, there was fullback Mike Allstott, a player too good they couldn't pass him up in the second round. Tomorrow, the first pick in the 4th round. They will get a lot of calls on it. They'll listen, but the emphasis for them will be on the offensive line. Let's head to Chris Mortensen in Miami.
It's been an interesting day with Jimmy Johnson in Miami because he landed Darrell Gardner, Baylor defensive lineman, kind of a controversial pick. He made a trade with Jerry Jones. He picked up a cornerback in Dorian Brew. He took a running back in Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. But stick around, folks. Jimmy's excited. He has 8 picks on Sunday. He thinks he's going to get some players. Let's go to Chris Myers in Dallas.
The Cowboys wanted depth, and they got it, starting with the defensive line at linebacker and then at the offensive center position. They still have 2 more picks to close out this 3rd round. They are considering a wide receiver as they're working right now in the war room to wrap things up for tonight. They'll have 3 picks tomorrow. 2 are compensatory, so they cannot trade those away. We'll keep an eye on what Jerry Jones and the Cowboys do. Now let's go to Mike Godfrey.
The best player still out there, offensive tackle from Florida, Jason Odom. Just surprised he's still there, Chris.
All right, Coach, we will see if he'll go at the end of this evening. Green Bay, Dallas, and Dallas. We've had 2 picks, 2 fullbacks selected here since we've whipped around. Seattle with the 91st pick after Green Bay took Flanagan, the center, took Reggie Brown, fullback from Fresno State. Then Pittsburgh took a fullback, John Whitman, from Penn State, from right down the road in Happy Valley. And then Green Bay has just selected Mel, what about these 2 fullbacks, Brown and Whitman? Any lean there? Any feel on these picks?
Brown, I was not that impressed. We had him at the Hula Bowl. I was not that impressed. I thought he was a tweener-type back. You didn't know if he was a fullback, if he could block well enough, if he was quick enough to be a halfback. Only ran in the 4.8s. Whitman's a pile driver, real good blocker, rotated with Brian Milne, can catch the football. Wasn't able to work out because of some nagging injuries, and that kind of pushed him down a little bit in some teams' minds. But he's definitely a workhorse, power fullback that Bill Cowher will certainly like his temperament. Green Bay just selected Tyrone Williams, the cornerback from Nebraska. Good coverage guy. Needs to get a little stronger, real spindly frame.
How big is he, Mel?
He's about 185 pounds.
How tall?
5'11 and a half.
Yeah, they won't pick a short
but
DB there.
He needs to get stronger. He only did 8 reps. He needs to get in the weight room.
Well, we got Dallas with the last couple of picks coming up, and then we wrap it up for the night. So the Cowboys and the Cowboys. How about them picks? Look at that.
Outback, you say?
Subaru Outback, the world's first sport utility wagon.
We're back with 2 picks to go here in the 3rd round. We've been on for about 10 hours today as we got through 1, 2, and 3, about the same as last year.
You've been a real warrior, I want to say.
No, we've all been.
No, you have. You're playing injured. I mean, you're playing hurt. There's a difference between being injured and hurt. You're definitely playing hurt.
I appreciate it, Joe, but it's the NFL draft, and you got to play with pain, right? That's something you guys learned before I did. And then when you came into this broadcast business, I told that to Tommy his first day on the job and you. But before we move on, in addition to Mel, who, it's a treat because, like I said, it's okay, so-and-so is picked, Mel. And then tomorrow, if you thought that was the way it was tonight. But with all of our reporters around, all of our behind-the-scenes folks and our technical people, this is a long day, and we appreciate everyone that's watched out there, but there's so much work that goes into putting this together and bringing it to you at home that I don't think you can appreciate the work behind the scenes that so many of us, so many of the people in the truck, et cetera, have been at since January and February. So from those of us on the set, a thank you to those of us behind the scenes. It would not be possible. In front of the camera is Chris Myers in Dallas. Chris, it's all you for the rest of the night.
And we're about ready to wrap things up. Where's Teddy Bruschi when you need him? We have the first Cowboy pick is Stepford, the first of these last two, Stepford Williams, a wide receiver out of Northeast Louisiana, and they're still working on their other pick to close out the third round.